begin our look at sports from the hallowed halls of Cooperstown. Lee Smith and Mariano Rivera combined to finish 1,754 games as big leaguers. On Sunday afternoon, they closed things out one more time. And fittingly, former Yankee ace Mike Mussina got things started as the first of 6 inductees took the podium. In an appropriate touch, Smith and Rivera were the last 2 to take the podium at the Clark Sports Center, where an estimated 55,000 fans gathered on a warm afternoon for the ceremonies, inducting the 2 closers as well as Harold Baines, Edgar Martinez Mussina, and the late Roy Halladay into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Rivera opened his speech as a stand-up comic. Open quote, "I don't understand why I always have to be last." Close quote, said the Yankee great, who racked up a record 652 saves and finished 952 games, the most in history, before becoming the first player to ever earn unanimous election into the Hall. Here's Mo and Moose.
Being the last, always, you have opportunity to think, to realize what you're doing, to see what you're doing, and just attack what I'm doing, In baseball, I have 7, 8 innings to watch what the hitters were doing, and now at this induction, I have 5 people in front of me to watch what they're doing, so I have the opportunity to start, thinking about and maybe if I had to correct something, I was able to do it. So it was great. I like to be in the position because I think that I was built for that. Thank you.
People here at the Hall of Fame, we just sat down and talked for a while, and I told my story, and we just kind of built it from there. I thought that would be, I got a little connection with Little League Baseball, so I wanted to throw that in. And I just wanted to kind of walk through my career without taking 18 years to walk through it again. So that's what I did, and tried to tell the important parts of the story, and so that was pretty much it.
More on the ceremonies in the C list. How about a Hall of Fame namesake? The grandson of Triple Crown winner and Hall of Famer Carl Yastrzemski, Mike Yastrzemski, homered with 1 out and the bottom of the 12th inning to give the surging San Francisco Giants a 3-2 victory over the New York Mets on Sunday. The Giants have been playing terrific baseball and may not deal ace Madison Bumgarner after all. The Mets open a home series with San Diego Tuesday. As for the Bronx Bombers, they are still in the market for a pitcher. James Paxton has not been much of an improvement over Sonny Gray. Paxton allowed a leadoff home run for the 2nd straight outing when Charlie Blackmon connected for the first of his 4 hits, starting the Colorado Rockies to an 8-4 win on Sunday that halted a 6-game skid and New York's 5-game winning streak. The Yanks are in Minnesota tonight. They will try and get back on track. The trade deadline is only weeks away. From the world of golf, on the strength of a final round 72 Sunday, the Republic of Ireland's Shane Lowry won the 148th Open Championship in a 6-shot romp over runner-up Tommy Fleetwood. The win is the first major championship for the 32-year-old who burst onto the professional scene a decade ago with a win at the 2009 Irish Open as a 22-year-old amateur. Congrats to him. In motor racing, Kevin Harvick survived a last lap battle with Denny Hamlin to win Sunday's Cup race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, delivering Stewart Haas Racing's first Cup victory of the season. 2 drivers made contact multiple times over the last lap before Harvick pulled away, coming to the checkered flag. In IndyCar, Joseph Newgarden's convincing victory in a race that started Saturday night and ended Sunday morning has given Team Penske a 29-point lead in the championship. It was the latest local time start to an IndyCar Series race in history at 10:46 p.m. Central Time, 11:46 Eastern, and it was by far the latest finish to a race in an IndyCar's very long history. The checkered flag waved at 1:30 a.m. local time, 2:30 a.m. Eastern, with Newgarden defeating hard-charging 5-time series champion Scott Dixon by 2.8527 seconds. Alexander Rossi, who had closed to within 4 points of Newgarden's lead in the championship after last week's Indy Toronto race, finished 6th. Combine that with Newgarden's win and Rossi's defeat, that grew by 25 points in the standings. Rain, rain, rain. Formula One is heading to Germany this weekend. After a pair of thrilling races in Austria and Great Britain, F1 gears up for the German Grand Prix Sunday. With the future of the event uncertain beyond this year, it could be the last race to take place in Germany for some time. Lewis Hamilton heads to a circuit he has won 3 times before holding a 39-point lead in the championship standings following a record-breaking 6th British Grand Prix victory last time out. With only 5 days of actual racing left, there is still no clear front runner in this year's Tour de France, making it the most open and exciting competition in 30 years. A couple of Frenchmen are duking it out at the top of the leaderboard. Following stage 15, France may be on course for its first Tour de France winner since 1985. In boxing, Pac-Man has returned to form. Manny Pacquiao's fight with Keith Thurman on Saturday night went the distance and ultimately resulted in an electrifying split decision victory for the 40-year-old fighter who became the oldest welterweight champion in the sport's history. Manny says he wants to fight until he's 45 years old, and the avid basketball fan who plays every single day said he would like to purchase an NBA franchise following his boxing career. Pretty cool. UFC champion John Jones is facing a battery charge stemming from an alleged April incident in Albuquerque, New Mexico. ESPN reported Jones, who holds the UFC light heavyweight title, is accused of slapping a cocktail waitress at a strip club, pulling her down to his lap and kissing her neck, according to a report Sunday. The woman told Albuquerque police that Jones put her in a chokehold and picked her up off the ground. When she asked Jones to stop, she said Jones continued touching her until he decided to leave. Mr. Jones just can't seem to stay out of trouble. In the NBA, the New York Knicks largely struck out in free agency this summer. They couldn't convince Kyrie Irving and Kemba Walker to come home. They canceled a meeting on Kawhi Leonard and definitely weren't going to offer the full max to Kevin Durant anyway. But one player they did land was Bobby Portis, and Portis has some bold thoughts. In an interview with Hoops Hype, Portis said that the Knicks can make the postseason months after finishing with the league's worst record. We shall see. I think the Knicks could go from 17 wins to about 32 this year. No playoffs. Barcelona is set to open talks with Lionel Messi to extend the forward's contract, sources have told ESPN. The 32-year-old is in the final 2 years of his deal, and the team is keen to get him to commit beyond 2021. It would be the 10th contract he has signed with the club since his first professional deal in 2004. In the NFL, the Miami Dolphins have waived defensive tackle Kendrick Norton, who had his left arm amputated following a car crash near Miami earlier this month, with a non-football injury designation. By placing Norton on the reserve/non-football injury list, the team is able to pay the 22-year-old his full salary. According to Florida Highway Patrol, Norton's Ford F-250 crashed into a concrete barrier on State Road 836 in the early hours of July 4th. The University of Miami product underwent at least 6 surgeries before he was released from the hospital last week. Sad story, but the Dolphins did the right thing by this young man. Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for a final nod to the 6 new Baseball Hall of Famers. May have been an extremely hot weekend this weekend in Cooperstown, but as I mentioned on the show last week, I think this year's Hall of Fame class ranks up with the greatest of all time, so it was well worth sweating it out in the birthplace of baseball. As I sat there Sunday afternoon, I had a couple of thoughts about each Hall of Famer, little memories that I wanted to share in closing about their incredible careers. Mike Mussina, to me, is one of the most cerebral pitchers I have ever seen. The Stanford graduate is the only major leaguer I've ever seen to have a book in his locker, and I've been covering the game for quite some time. Moose used his smarts to author a brilliant pitching career on the mound. I had a Harold Baines folder when I was in the 3rd grade. He was an underrated star who was clutch. His high step at the plate is an image that will always be locked into my mind. The boy could really hit. With the same token, that's the first thing that comes to mind about Edgar Martinez. He is the greatest pure-hitting DH I have ever seen. Makes sense that the award to honor his position is named after him, the Edgar Martinez Outstanding Designated Hitter Award. I had the honor of getting up close to Roy Halladay in Toronto when he was a young pitcher, and later in his career at many All-Star games. I remember him working out on an off day at the Rogers Center in Toronto and thinking to myself, that guy really goes after it. The same could be said years later, right before an All-Star game, when I noticed him checking out scouting reports before he was set to start that night. Scouting reports for an All-Star game. That's a Hall of Fame mindset. Lee Smith signed me an autograph when I was about 12 years old and had just become a member of the New York Yankees. That's not something future Hall of Famers often do, but Smith is a kind man with a big heart and an even bigger fastball. He was dominant throughout his career, no matter where he stopped. His enshrinement was a long time coming. And of course, we saved the best for last, Mr. 100%, the GOAT, the greatest, the great Mariano Rivera. For me, the best way to illustrate his greatness is this stat. More men have walked on the moon than scored against Mariano Rivera in the postseason. That's right, NASA 12, Mo 11. That pretty much sums up his greatness and the greatest of games. Congrats to this special Hall of Fame class. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C.